Last week, the Department of Education told schools of plans aimed at resolving long-standing issues with the application system for special education, which sees families struggling to find places each year.
However, some schools have said these plans to develop catch-all special schools will push students with mild and general learning disabilities back to mainstream classes that, in their words, have already failed them.
Joining us to discuss the issue is Principal of Scoil Eoin, Debbie O'Neill, and the parent of a child at Scoil Eoin, Emer Cobbe. You're both very welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Before Conor went to Scoil Eoin, Emer, he was attending mainstream school.
He was, yeah.
And it wasn't working out. So when did you first notice that things weren't working for Conor in school?
Well, we knew fairly early on, Martin, because he had no developmental issues or developmental delays when he left creche. So we just channeled him into the local national school, and it was very evident after a couple of weeks that the classroom environment, the noise, everything like that was not suiting him. So we thought it might be a settling in period. But after a number of months and back and forth to the school, we decided there was something a little bit more. So we got him assessed by NEPS. And they...
and what is NEPS for
NEPS,
people who don't know?
is the National Educational Psychological Service. So they came back with the diagnosis of mild general learning disability, in which children of that cohort can go through mainstream, but they do need a lot of support academically. So armed with that information, we decided that we would kind of curate his primary school. So we moved him on to a Montessori primary school, which worked really well because it was all visual learning. It was a smaller classroom and it worked really well for him. But unfortunately, that was only going up to 6th class. So luckily, again, we were lucky. I spoke to a senior education needs officer in my area about going forward for secondary. So I was looking forward to his later years and how this would happen. So she told me the next change for Conor would have to be a primary school that would have a feeder secondary school. So we enrolled him in a local private school where he worked really well because he had a dedicated SNA. Mm-hmm. And he would have loved to have stayed on there for secondary. But when it got to secondary school, he didn't have a dedicated SNA and the academics just flew right ahead of him. He then became separated from his peers because, you know, when you're a teenager, you're moving forward, especially when you're 14 or 15, you're finding your tribe, you're looking forward to, you know, other life events, and Conor was just left behind because all the boys were moving forward and his confidence completely dipped.
And that's what people, I think, don't appreciate sometimes, because it's almost like a hidden issue. Absolutely. Here, because I'm looking from the outside in, kind of should be keeping up with everybody else, but needing that extra support that wasn't there. And that can cause huge mental health issues, self-esteem issues, and of course not wanting to go to school and wanting to drop out. And that's a massive problem as well for people like Conor. Yeah,
well, luckily for us, Conor always wanted to go to school, and we would never have seen that side of it. But it is a problem for other children that are not shy. We were lucky that we were able to curate his primary school education. We had the means to do that, but not every parent can.
How did you hear about Scoil Eoin?
It was by chance. So Conor was attending Enable Ireland for group sessions for his peers that also had MGLD, you know, to guide them forward and also give us advice about secondary schools. And it just happened, a chance conversation I had with a parent. We were both concerned about where we'd be sending our children for secondary. We both live in the same area. We both had made like at least 20 calls to different schools, and she said she had come across this school in Crumlin and that was where she was going to send her daughter. So I said I would check it out, and when things weren't going right in first year for Conor, I rang Debbie and asked, could I come out and see the school? I had to have an alternative for him because second year was not going to work for him. Okay. As much as they wanted to, all the teachers loved him. But, you know, they're subject specialists in secondary school and they have a curriculum to follow. So they don't, it's not that they don't want to, they just don't have time to be spending with a child that's falling behind. It's very unfortunate.
Debbie, tell us about Scoil Eoin.
So, as Emer said, Elaine, Scoil Eoin is a school for mild general learning disability, and I suppose, like you had mentioned there, it is a very misunderstood and a hidden disability. So it's for children with a below average IQ. So from 50, we take children who are borderline as well, so up to 79. And I suppose what we really focus on is building back up that sense of self-esteem and that sense of self-worth, which really gets eroded in a mainstream environment once a child starts to drift from their peers. They get very isolated. You know, school attendance is so much in the news at the moment, but these kids become school refusers. A lot of them would drop out maybe by second year in the mainstream, and not because of anything the mainstream environment is doing, they're just not resourced properly.
And so what would this proposal by the Department of Education, first of all, what is it, and what do you think the impact would be on your school and the pupils?
Sure. So it's a proposal to redesignate special schools. Now, what that would mean for us is that our designation of mild special school will be taken away, and we would only be catering to those with the most complex need. And, you know, those children with the most complex need who don't have a school place, absolutely they need to be catered for. But it's not making new school places by repurposing our school. It's simply just really kind of displacing our students back into the mainstream from where they've already come and replacing then those places for those with the most complex needs.
So basically, these children who have already struggled in mainstream, they're not getting on. Chances are they drop out. They've been moved to this school which caters to their needs, and because of this redesignation, they would be more or less, maybe not the pupils now, move back to mainstream to make way.
Where that failed them in the first place.
To make way for more profound
Yes. Now,
issues.
it won't necessarily affect the students we have at the moment, but all of those that we've yet to meet.
So what should they be doing instead of this then, obviously?
Look, really, this is as a result of chronic underfunding in special ed for decades. So what should be happening is that we should be allowed to continue doing the really excellent job that we do, and more school places need to be provided for those children who need them.
OK, can I just ask, how was Conor since he went to school in Scoil Eoin?
It's like a different child, Martin. He is bursting with confidence. He's enjoying all of the sports there. He's now able to do some more practical subjects that he wouldn't have been able to do in a mainstream secondary. So he's cooking, he's making woodwork, he's bursting in the door to tell me every day about his day. You know, teens don't want to tell you anything, but he is bursting to tell me. And in fact, when I had to broach him that he'd not be on holidays for 2 weeks, more than his brother, who's on holidays at the moment. No problem, Mum. I'm delighted to go in, because he loves his friends. He loves the peer group, and they're all the same. So that for him is, he feels included, and he feels he's got a peer group that he can be with, which is wonderful.
So he's reaching his potential.
Absolutely, yeah.
We did actually request a statement from the Department of Education, who have thus far not returned to us with any new information or a statement, just to let our viewers know that. But when it comes to, you mentioned chronic underfunding, do you think when it comes to this cohort of students that we hear a lot in the news about the of course, massive underfunding when it comes to ASD, ADHD resources, but there's perhaps that group in the middle that you cater for that is somewhat overlooked in the greater scheme of things when it comes to education.
It's harder to get help.
Yeah, they really are the unseen and the forgotten, you know. But I suppose what's not mentioned as well about schools like ours is we are doing so much for those other needs as well. I mean, of the 30 schools around the country who are the same as us, the majority of us would have 50% autism. So the kids with mild would all have co-occurring disabilities as well. So we're really helping to meet that need
and your
also.
statistics as well are quite high when it comes to these children who probably would have not completed their education. You've got quite a high level who go to the nth degree.
Yeah, it's been amazing to do a little bit of research on that. So there's statistics that say that people with intellectual disabilities in Ireland, only 1 in 4 of them are able to work and hold down a job, but 91% of our school leavers go on to work or go on to further ed and training.
That's amazing.
That's a fantastic thing.
It's wonderful.
OK, so in the short term,
In the short term, we really need this to be halted so that, you know, come in and see us, come in and see our worth, come in and see our value, come in and see how happy and really the friendship group, the peer group that these children are having, the huge self-confidence they have, and just see it as opposed to making a decision from an office that just doesn't make sense.
You say you walked in that door
Yes.
and came out crying with happiness.
And relief, because as a parent, if your child isn't happy, nothing in the household functions. You know, it's constantly on your mind. So when I walked into that school and I met Debbie, she described my child back to me, and I burst out crying with relief in her office. I came away from there thinking, yes, his future is bright, because she understood him. You know,
that's so lovely to
Isn't
see,
it?
isn't it? Absolutely
Lovely
heartwarming
to hear.
story. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Both for joining us, Debbie O'Neill and Emer Cobbe.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.